Welcome to the Air and Space Museum. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the building itself. We have a really interesting building. It starts with its shape. This is one of the 5 Ford buildings. If you look at us from space, it's a very, very strange outline. But if you take all 5 of the Ford buildings and put us together, we've got a poorly functioning Ford transmission. Each of us are representative of a different component within a real Ford transmission. So that explains the weird shape. A little bit more about us. We were built in 1934 for the California Pacific Exposition. There had been a series of those in the couple of decades prior. So our museum was built as part of that big exhibition. At the time, we were built by the Ford Motor Company, and we were here to show people that they too could afford to have a Ford car. So what they did inside is they actually constructed cars inside the building. There were little stations set up all the way around the building underneath large murals on the wall. So if you walk in, there will be a mural of a lady sewing a seat for the car, and then right below, the lady would be standing there with her sewing machine and her tools creating the seat. And as you go around the building, there were stations like this. The building, as you can see, it has a very fluted shape. That's where we're mimicking the gear of a Ford transmission. Otherwise, we're a set of concentric circles, and it gives our museum a very unique quality. We can actually teach history chronologically. You walk in through the front door in early flight, walk all the way around, and come out through the jet age. That's something most museums can't do. They have to give you a separate gallery for each thing. Our galleries feed one into the other, actually helping us to tell the story. So this building has had a very interesting history. For the first 20 or 30 years, the city kept looking for ways to use it. They taught adult education classes in here. For a long time, there were sewing machines set up in the center courtyard, and the city college right down the street would have their adult education sewing classes here in approximately the location where our PBY Catalina is located today. That went on for a while, but this was a temporary building from 1935, and by the 60s and 70s, this building was really falling to pieces. It wasn't being used much at all for anything. They weren't even holding classes in here by the 70s. Our museum at the other end of the park really had an issue with size. We had outgrown every corner. We didn't have any place to put anything. So by 1978, the museum was already in conversations with the city about taking over this building. There was going to need a lot of work. It had been open for years. The trees in the center courtyard had kind of taken over and turned into a little miniature rainforest in there. So there were a lot of issues with the building. It also wasn't sealed to the elements. It used skylights back in the 30s and 40s for lighting inside. And those skylights were essentially waterfalls anytime San Diego got a good rainstorm. So we looked at the building as a really good possibility. We knew it would take a lot of work. The fire that we suffered at the other museum location really sealed the deal for us, and we moved over here right after that. So when we took over the building, there was actually a fill line on the wall of how deep the trash used to be before we got it. So when I came here in 1981, we only had 22 airplanes in the building. We're over 60 now, closer to 70. So back then, you could walk through the building and see a exhibit, a few airplanes, and then you walk for a while before you see a couple more. And the whole feeling today is much more finished and filled. But when we first opened, it was a pretty sparse collection. If you're ever in San Diego, I can't recommend another museum higher than ours. We take care of our visitors, and we'd love to see you here. Stop by.